Hi, everyone. My name is Professor Ellie Line, and I will be your instructor for Criminology 2220, which is Statistics in Criminology and Criminal Justice. In this video, I want to go over our Canvas page as well as the syllabus as a little introduction into this course and to help you start off on the right foot as we navigate this online class together. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. What you're looking at here is our Canvas homepage for this course. And so on here, you can find a couple of things. The first is a link to our syllabus, which is right here as a hyperlink, as well as all of my faculty contact information. And so given that this is an online course, the best way to get in contact with me is via email. And so I have that listed here. I will also be holding virtual office hours by appointment, so please email me if you would like to meet one-on-one. Happy to discuss any concerns or questions you might have about the class or any specific questions in a homework set or about a quiz. I will also be holding virtual homework help, which are essentially drop-in hours where I will be on my Zoom link, which you see with the hyperlink below. And so you can drop in anytime on Wednesdays from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. if you have any questions. And so that is completely free if you'd like to use that as well. Over on this right-hand column, you'll see your to-do list, which is essentially your log of all of the problem sets and the corresponding due dates that we will have throughout this semester. And so I won't get into that too much right now, just because we'll go over the syllabus here in a moment. But just know that that's available for you under that calendar function. So moving off of the homepage, we also have the class syllabus under the syllabus tab as well. So there's two locations to find it, either under the syllabus tab itself or back on that homepage, which we just covered. The main area of content that you will be needing to go over is this modules section. And so what you'll see here is your homework submission guide. So please cover this individually. Given that this is an asynchronous course, we will never be meeting in person. And so all of your assignments will need to be turned in via Canvas. And so this Word document here is a little step-by-step tutorial of how you can successfully submit your homework sets via Canvas. And so please take a look at that before you turn that in at the end of the week. Going back to our modules tab here, you will also see class materials. This will be more relevant as you head into the tail end of this semester. But our standard normal table or our Z distribution table is available here, as well as our chi-squared table. Again, you won't need those until at least chapter 8, but just know that those are available to you via Canvas. Right here is the shell of what you will be looking at for the next 16 weeks in this course. And so all of these modules are going to look basically the same, meaning that every week I will post on Mondays at approximately 9 a.m. a class PowerPoint. So you see that link here, a corresponding lecture video where I go over the PowerPoint slides as if it was a lecture we were doing in class. And lastly, a problem set, which essentially serves as both a comprehension check and your homework for this course. Each problem set is only about 3 to 5 questions. It's not meant to be extensive, but it is meant for you to kind of check your own learning. And because this is asynchronous, that can be a little difficult to do sometimes. And so this just serves as a weekly reminder to make sure that you're going over all the materials that you need and that you actually comprehended it. So those are the 3 main things that you will see in a given week. And so there will be one of each of these. Again, the class PowerPoint, a lecture video, and a problem set. And the modules themselves will be released sequentially as we go throughout the semester. And so given that this is week 1, this has already been posted for you to view. If you have any problems accessing either the PowerPoint or the video for whatever reason, please let me know and I will try and figure out a solution as quickly as possible. Heading over to our assignments tab, this is where you'll see all of the upcoming assignments and due dates. And so I tried to situate this class into thirds. And so we cover approximately a third of the material in the first 4 to 5 weeks, and so on and so forth for both units 2 and 3. And so we have 4 problem sets before our very first quiz, which will take place on September 24th. Notably about the quizzes, you will have a 48-hour period to go over and take this quiz. Within that 48 hours, you will have a 2-hour window once you actually start the quiz to take it and complete it. And so all information again will be through Canvas. Have another couple problem sets here until we hit quiz 2, and then rounding out quiz 3 here at the end. Importantly, and this is in the syllabus as well, all of these quizzes are non-cumulative, and so they only cover materials that are from each respective unit. Importantly, though, all of these concepts build on each other. And so just because we cover something in chapters 1 or 2 doesn't mean that that necessarily goes away in latter chapters such as 11 and 12. And so please keep that in mind. I don't exclusively test you on levels of measurement, which is something we cover very early on in this course, all the way in the latter chapters, but the idea and concept of levels of measurement will follow us throughout the rest of the semester. And so even though it's not cumulative, these concepts still build on each other, each respective chapter. All right. And lastly, if you ever need to get in contact with me, you can either do that via the syllabus or people tab here. You can click on mine and see all your fellow classmates. And my information is listed here under teacher as well. So this is another way to get in contact with me if you so choose. Let's head back to the syllabus. And I won't go over this in a lot of detail because you'll have the opportunity to go through this yourselves, but a couple of key things that I wanted to hone in on. Again, my contact information is right here at the top. This Zoom link will be available to you throughout the semester, and so it won't change. It's a hyperlink that directs you to my personal meeting room, and so it doesn't have a time component on it. So I won't be setting up a individual Zoom link for you if you are to set up a meeting with me. Whether you are attending virtual homework help, office hours, or a separate meeting with me, that will be the link that you will be using. And so keep that for your reference. It's here on the syllabus, as well as that homepage on our Canvas page. Course description, I will allow you to go over yourself. Course outcomes and materials. And so we will be using Social Statistics in a Diverse Society, the 9th edition. And so that will be something that you will have to acquire for this course. And just so that you all know, the way that I view the textbook is not for you to necessarily read it through and through every single week. I view it more as a supplementary material. And so since this is an online course, we primarily have lecture videos and PowerPoints. But if you're not necessarily like an audio or visual learner and you want to have a hard copy with more examples, the book is where you're going to find that. And so maybe the idea of hypothesis testing, which is what we're going to cover in Unit 3 in chapters 8, 9, and 10, that could be difficult for a lot of people. And maybe you're looking for more information or examples or a really broken down version of what those concepts are. I would use the textbook as a reference in that case. But I will not be quizzing you on concepts that I do not cover in PowerPoints or lecture videos. Essentially, what I'm trying to say here is I'm not trying to trick you. Everything should be pretty clear, and the problem sets are made in mind with the same types of materials and frameworks of questions that I will ask on quizzes. And so again, supplement for the textbook, but it is a really good resource to really break down some of those more difficult concepts. Other than that, all that you will need is a calculator. You can use a basic scientific calculator in this course. The most extensive statistical type of test or framework that you're going to need for this calculator is simply to do square roots into square numbers. And so if you have a calculator at your disposal that is able to do those things, then you are set to go. As I had mentioned, this course is entirely asynchronous, meaning that there is no live portion of the class, but I will be posting a corresponding lecture video and PowerPoint on Monday mornings. Course grading. All that we really have in this class are problem sets and quizzes. And so there will be 12 problem sets, which are essentially those homework and comprehension checks at the end of each week. And so that will make up 40% of your total grade. All homework sets will be due by 11:59 p.m. on the listed due date. That will always be on Sunday nights at 11:59 p.m. at the end of the week. I will try and turn those around as quickly as possible, given that these concepts do build on each other. And so I really do try to make a concerted effort to grade those quickly. In terms of quizzes, we will have 3 of those throughout the semester, and each of those is worth 20% of your grade for a total of 60%. Pretty typical grading scale here, shouldn't be anything new to you. In terms of late assignments, this actually is a policy I want to go over in a little bit more detail. And so I fully recognize that many of you have lives outside of school and that school is not always your number one priority. And that very much rings true to what my undergrad experience was as well. And so in recognition of that, I have a pretty lax late assignment policy. So this will be about problem sets only, not quizzes. And so with problem sets, as long as I am notified 24 hours in advance, I am more than happy to grant an extension. I view college and college courses as job training programs. And so similar to if you were to call off work, you just need to communicate with me that something popped up, and I will try and find a reasonable solution for that. What I will not do is accept reasons after the fact. So if you forgot to turn in an assignment or you waited until the last minute and your Wi-Fi burnt out, that's not something I'm going to accept, right? That's something that you could have turned in the assignment a few days beforehand, but if it's a super extenuating life circumstance, let me know. I'm not a robot or an old curmudgeon professor that isn't gonna give you a break, right? I understand that life happens, shit happens all the time. It just does, and that's okay. But again, the key here is to communicate with me as soon as you know that something's popping up. So what you can do right now is take a look at your schedule throughout the semester. If you know that you have a week-long vacation popping up or a family wedding or some other event that you already have on your calendar, that it might make it a little bit more difficult for you to turn something in on a Sunday night, communicate that with me now, and I'm happy to grant an extension. But again, the key there is to start training you and getting you in the mindset of communicating with me as a professor, and it's training you to be able to communicate with a future employer. And so keep that in mind. Class policies, I won't go into super detail here, but in terms of preferred names and gender pronouns, if you do have them that you'd like me to be aware of, please notify me of that if you are comfortable doing so, and I will make a note of that in my records so that I can be mindful of that throughout the semester. If you have any accessibility accommodations from the DAS office that I should be aware of, also please send me your letter of that sooner rather than later so that I can implement any of the accommodations that you may need at the beginning of the semester rather than later. One last policy here that I really want to go over because this is an ongoing issue that we're dealing with in academia more broadly, but also in my courses specifically. And this is language directly from the university that is new this year. And so this deals with academic dishonesty and cheating, specifically with the misuse of artificial intelligence or AI technologies. And so, given that this is a completely asynchronous online course, I know that I don't have the ability from the other side of the screen to regulate what tools you may or may not be using this semester. What I will say, though, is that I have run every single problem set and quiz through AI, specifically ChatGPT, and not only do I know what it'll spit out in terms of an answer, I also know that it creates incorrect answers. It's just aggregating a whole bunch of information that it's pulling from online, but it doesn't necessarily match up to the methods and ways that you will be taught in this course. And so, for example, with hypothesis testing, there is a 5-step general model to hypothesis testing. I have had students in the past, just this past summer, who used AI to answer those questions, and it gave them the incorrect steps. So it was pretty obvious to me that they had been using something that I never once explained in class, right? It's not that hard to detect if it's a concept I've never covered, it's not in the book, it's not in the PowerPoints, and it's not in the lecture videos. And so know that if you show your work, which will be mandated throughout this class, and it mirrors that of which AI is producing, and it's not following the steps that we've covered either in the PowerPoints or the lecture videos, you will be receiving a 0 on that assignment or quiz. This is something that I take very seriously, and I know that other professors in the department do as well. And so, like I said, I have already run through this. I have notes of what AI will produce versus what I expect to see in my answer keys. And so please be mindful of that now so that you don't use it exclusively as you move throughout the semester. In terms of technology use, all of my PowerPoints are through PowerPoint rather than Google Slides or any other type of format. And so you can get the entire Microsoft Office suite from UMSL. And so I highly encourage you to do that. It's a great resource and your tuition dollars are paying for it. So you might as well get your money's worth out of it. And so given that I will be using both PowerPoint and Word, please make sure that you have those downloaded or have accessibility to that as well. All right, in terms of course logistics and the semester outline, essentially what we're going to be doing is covering one chapter per week, and this chapter structure does follow the textbook that was mentioned earlier in the syllabus. And so you'll see here that I outline what week we're on, the respective concept and topic. So example for week 1, we'll be covering levels of measurement, which is in chapter 1. And then that problem set will be due at the end of the week. So in this case, it was August 31st, which is this upcoming Sunday at 11:59 p.m. And you'll see that exact same structure followed all the way here. When we do have a quiz, you will not have a corresponding problem set that week. And so that's essentially your week off to just kind of review and take the quiz during the allotted time period. I have the time periods listed here. So for quiz 1, you will have from September 24th at 11:59 p.m. to September 26th at 11:59 p.m. And so mark those down on your calendars now because you will only have that 48-hour window to take the quiz. And so again, going through the chapters here, review and quiz 2 will take place at the end of October. One exception to our chapter format that we'll be following in the first half of the semester is chapter 8. And so hypothesis testing is a concept I mentioned a little bit earlier, but that is quite an extensive chapter. And so we actually break that down into 2 weeks of actual content. And then I have a separate week here in week 12 where we will just be doing review problems and example problems. And so that's why chapter 8 is spread across 3 weeks. Lastly, we finish off with our quiz during our final week. And so, like I said, it is a non-cumulative quiz, but again, these concepts do build off of each other. And so just keep that in mind as you are heading throughout this semester. If you have any questions about this syllabus, the structure, any of my classroom policies, or our course schedule, please let me know. I'm happy to chat with folks either over email during my office hours, or I'm always happy to have an appointment with you as well. So again, best way to contact me is via email. And I look forward to working with you all throughout this semester. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing all of you work throughout this semester. And I promise you that stats is not as scary as it seems. I know that as criminology majors, or if you're in a different social science, it can seem really daunting to take a stats class. I know it was for me as an undergrad. I remember once I saw that as part of my core classes, I was like, what the heck? I signed up to be in criminology. Why am I taking a stats class? I get it. It can be very anxiety inducing for folks, but I'm here to alleviate any anxieties or nervousness that you're feeling around this concept. And again, that's my role as an instructor, is to try to communicate these concepts to you as best as I can and to help you learn. My overall goal with this course is not to have you walking out of here being a master of all statistical concepts, but What my goal really is to have you be statistically literate at the end of the day. And so if you are to pick up a newspaper article or read something online or a police report or a crime report, that you understand what the statistics in those respective journals or articles are telling you, right? We want you to be literate in statistics. And so don't overthink it too much. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And like I mentioned, if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. It's my job to be available and to teach you these concepts. And so, like I said, if you have any questions, email me. Otherwise, I will see you in the next lecture video.